So the last little bit of notes for this unit are just talking a little bit about the impacts of dropping the atomic bombs. And so just so you have that in your notebook as a reference, you guys have explored some of that in your Edpuzzle video. So just wanted to have a place where you can actually kind of summarize that. But as you probably could see in the pictures, the videos, the explanations, the real life impacts of that, of the atomic bombs, they devastated many Japanese, as far as their health, as far as their cities. So impacted so many people in Japan. And so the biggest impact that the atomic bombs really had were the health issues. So like I said in the previous videos, America and many people did not realize the impacts that the atomic bombs would have after the fact or on people because they've never tested them on actual humans, so they didn't know. And so what they realize is that yes, the atomic bombs have a lot of atomic energy and radiation um, that had never been experienced before, but it impacts humans in a bad way. So it impacts you. You get radiation poisoning. Basically the radiation got inside of the bodies of many of the people that survived. Of course, many people died, but a lot of people survived as well, and endured some really bad burns. But that radiation got inside of their body, and so what it did is it basically started poisoning their body. So they got radiation poisoning, where they would lose their hair. A lot of times their teeth would rot out. There was a lot of their skin would kind of start peeling off. It was a really bad health issue for these people. But not only that, many of the survivors started getting cancer due to the extreme radiation. And so it started, many people that had even survived it were dying from that radiation poisoning and from the fallout, and all the things that came after the atomic bomb. So the atomic bomb, the impact wasn't just that one day where it devastated the cities or that group of people at that time. It had those long-term effects, that the generations of the Japanese continue to see after 1945. And so a lot of cancer following those atomic bombs. So very bad health issues. And there's a few, if you're interested in it, there's a few documentaries that you can watch that kind of lay out, and they're hard to watch, exactly how the health of the Japanese changed after those atomic bombs. Something that also changes how our world moves. World War II impacted so many countries and, really left with a lot of issues and questions and conflicts even following World War II. And so the biggest thing is because of the atomic bombs, because we dropped those, there's a worldwide fear of nuclear attacks. The United States made it something that's real life and that can happen. And so when we dropped those atomic bombs, we shifted what warfare looks like. The possibility of nuclear warfare. And so many people around the world began to fear, that countries are just going to start obliterating each other through atomic bombs. And so that was a real fear that people experienced and countries experienced and leaders realized could actually happen. And so since that time, we've not had any nuclear bombs being dropped again. But even today, we still kind of deal with the issues of that could possibly happen. We've dealt with North Korea, having missiles and those types of things. So that's something that we still even worry about a little bit today, but during this time period, it was way more intense because it had just happened. And so what this fear leads to is something that we call an arms race. And so different countries deciding that they're going to build up not only their military, but possibly their nuclear arms. And so there's this big fear of like our country's gonna start firing bombs or missiles at one another. And so this is a time period. So we shift from World War II. We start to come out of that war, and then we quickly shift around 2 years later into what we call the Cold War, and that was going to be what our next unit is about. So I'm not going to go too much into that, but the Cold War officially begins in 1947, so roughly 2 years after the end of World War II, and there's a lot of issues regarding nuclear weapons, nuclear warfare, and the fear that another atomic bomb is going to be dropped in the United States or around the world.